This is Democracy Watch. Mark, it looks like Donald Trump has focused his ire again on you. I'm going to put a post right up here on the screen that he posted onto True Social. I'm suing the law firm of Perkins Coie for their egregious and unlawful acts, in particular the conduct of a specific member of this firm, only to find out that the judge assigned to this case is Beryl Howell, an Obama appointee, and a highly biased and unfair disaster. She ruled against me in the past in a shocking display of a sick judicial temperament on a case that ended up working very well for me. And she goes on and on. Couple things here. First, obviously, you don't work at Perkins Coie anymore. So what do you make of the fact that he is, I mean, the suggestion is that he's going after you by name because you were their most high-profile attorney at the time. But what do you make of the fact that he is going after you yet again here, and yet even still doesn't seem to know what firm you work at?
Well, so I'm wondering if Donald Trump is starting to experience some memory problems here. So perhaps some, acuity. I know he had that recent test that he said he passed.
He said he passed it. He said he passed it. I think we have like those 5 words. We're back to the days of man, camera, woman, TV, whatever it was.
Right, exactly.
So.
Exactly. But just a few things. Number one, Donald Trump. My name is Marc Elias. You've used it before. That's who you were referring to, obviously. Number two, I haven't been at Perkins Coie since 2021. So it's been like 4 years.
Yeah.
That's a fact. And by the way, you're not suing Perkins Coie. Perkins Coie is actually suing you. And so far they're winning. So Donald Trump got a lot of stuff wrong in this. But the basic point is that Donald Trump knows that he is losing the lawsuits that he is where he's being sued by law firms over his unconstitutional targeting of them, including by Perkins Coie. He lost the preliminary injunction. The temporary restraining order when Perkins Coie sued. There was an oral argument earlier today on the final merits there, and he is clearly, based on that argument, going to lose again. He can badmouth me all he wants. I wear his scorn like a badge of honor. He can attack federal judges. This is not the only federal judge, as you know, he's attacked, and that's not going to affect the outcome either.
What do you make of the fact that he is so trained on you in particular? And more broadly, I mean, obviously it's not customary for a president of the United States to focus all of his attention on one individual attorney, and certainly not threaten or take legal action to prevent that attorney from being able to do his job.
Yeah, look, Donald Trump has been focused on me for years. He, in 2018, tweeted that I was the Democratic Party's best election stealing lawyer. In 2020, after we were successful in defeating him in court, both before the election and then more than 60 times in the post-election period, representing President Biden and the DNC at that point. He had a lot to say about me. His sycophants, on Fox News, Steve Bannon, Kash Patel, have all had a lot to say about me, mostly that they think that I win more in court than their Republican lawyers do, and so sometimes they lament that. Sometimes they accuse me of unethical behavior. But it's all of a piece. And of course, in his most recent round of executive orders, he targeted me several times, including in the Perkins Coie order, another one attacking the entire legal profession. And he gave a speech at the Department of Justice in which he referred to me as a bad person, and I believe a communist trying to undermine the United States, which is a really weird one, since like half of his administration seems to have been paid commentators for Russia Today.
Right.
And
they're currently in the process. They're currently in the process of banning books, disappearing political opponents, but sure, it's the Democrats who are the communists.
Right, we're the communists, right? He's the one imposing trade barriers, giving away Ukraine to Vladimir Putin, right. Putting, by the way, tariffs on every country other than Russia. Yeah. I'm pretty sure if he's looking for the folks supporting communists, he ought to just do one of those meetings of his cabinet where they all say, "Yes, sir, you're wonderful, sir," and He might find them.
Mark, on the lawsuit that you were just referring to previously, the lawsuit that Perkins Coie brought against the Trump administration, can you give an update on where that stands right now? And more broadly, what signal it sends to other law firms that A, opted to capitulate, and B, may be next on the chopping block and are still deciding what to do?
Yeah, I mean, for the law firms that capitulated, or any law firm that may consider capitulating. I mean, what's going on in the Perkins Coie federal court case is just utter humiliation. I mean, the fact is Perkins Coie won the initial temporary restraining order in a matter of hours. The hearing that took place earlier today on the merits, this is to decide the case once and for all, I mean, can be described as nothing other than a humiliating ass kicking of the government. I mean, the government lawyer who showed up basically was just offered up, I think, as tribute. It was one lawyer alone sitting at counsel table, and for 2 hours was grilled by the federal judge and mostly delivered the following answer. I don't know, Your Honor. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the judge is clearly going to rule in favor of Perkins Coie. And for 2 hours, the judge wanted to understand what the government's position is as to why it is conceivably the case that what Donald Trump doing here is conceivable. And the lawyer for the Department of Justice had no answer. Interestingly, the judge asked specifically about the terms of the agreements that the capitulating law firms had entered into. Like, is there a written agreement? Are there criteria? Like, is there anything that can be gleaned from this other than Donald Trump's musings on Truth Social? I don't know, Your Honor. I don't know. I got nothing for you on that one.
Yeah. Okay, so then I do want to dig into the second part of that question, and there are still firms that have yet to decide what they're going to do, that are looking at the environment that Trump's created. Obviously, firms like Paul Weiss have made it more difficult because they've already capitulated, and so it gave Donald Trump this sense that it's easy to own them, right? He smelled blood in the water by virtue of them rolling over, and so he barreled ahead, and he says, hey, if I got one this easily, fuck it, I'm going to go for 5 or 10 or 20 or 30, whatever it is, and just rack up these free pro bono billable hours I can get so that these people who were once my enemies can now fight on my behalf. And so he's just collecting these people. And that does make the field more difficult for folks who are watching this play out and have to determine, okay, do I want to, be on the side that stands up against Donald Trump? And yes, there are 600 law firms, yours included, but there are also big law firms that have opted to capitulate, and maybe they've got an easier road ahead, at least in the immediate future, because now they're not on Trump's radar in the same way that yours is or that Perkins Coie is. And so what's your message to those firms?
Yeah, so look, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, the fact that the Department of Justice sent a lawyer to defend the indefensible was a signal, and it was a signal to all of the big law firms that, look, even though we have no legal case, we have, Donald Trump has no legal standing to have done this. He's going to continue to do it. And he did it, and he's going to continue to do it. And he's going to do it because he is a man who believes in retribution. And if you assert the rights that Perkins Coie has asserted, in other words, if you assert the minimum constitutional rights that everyone is entitled to, he's going to exact political retribution. And that political retribution might not come in the context of another EO. It may come when your law firm is representing a client and you need a government approval from, say, the FCC, or you need the FTC not to block a merger. Like, whatever it is, we will exact a political penalty because our legal theory may stand for nothing, but we are still a vindictive, vengeful administration. And that's what we've got. So what I would say to the law firms is have a shred of dignity. Like if what kind of lawyers are you that you think you are making an enforceable deal with Donald Trump? I mean, what kind of lawyers are you that you think that Donald Trump is going to follow and going to abide by whatever deal you think is in your head? Right. I mean, what kind of lawyer are you who has judges almost begging you to show up in their courtrooms to give you protection, and instead you are prostrating yourself in front of Donald Trump to do the right thing and to protect you? I mean, what kind of law firm are you? And by the way, what kind of client would hire you? I mean, that's the law firm. The law firm you want is the law firm that thinks that they can make a deal with Donald Trump. So I hope this gives spine and more backbone to law firm. I hope that the humiliation that Paul Weiss and the others have faced causes law firms to think twice. But one thing, Brian, that you and I have been constantly astounded by, and we talk about this all the time, is it seems like no large institutions learn from the lessons of the last large institutions. I mean, we just read about 60 Minutes. I mean, 60 Minutes looks like it's the head of 60 Minutes, resigned because he doesn't feel like he has the backing of the ownership. And so CBS looks like it may capitulate. Hasn't CBS learned anything from the other large legacy media companies?
Right. Right. Here's the thing. Going back to what you said about the law firms, if these folks aren't willing to fight for themselves, how in the world are they going to be trusted to fight for you? That's the first thing. The second thing, as it relates to the CBSs of the world, the reality is that major legacy media outlets are actually in a you would think that by virtue of their size and the amount of money that they have and the amount of power they're able to wield, that they would be in a better position to fight back against this administration. But because they're so exposed, because they need the government's approvals for mergers, because they are so leveraged by virtue of their size, they actually are in a position where they have to capitulate if they want approval from the very government that Trump runs and that he's perfectly content to abuse to get what he wants. And so if ever there was a better ad for independent media for the work that you do with Democracy Docket, which for folks watching right now, if you're not familiar with it, it's the news outlet Marc founded to focus on everything voting and elections. If ever there was a better ad for independent media that is not able to be manipulated by this White House by virtue of their size, by virtue of the fact that they're overexposed, this is it. So again, for anybody watching right now, highly recommend, if you're not yet subscribed for Democracy Docket, please go ahead and subscribe. I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video.
Yeah, and Brian, I just want to add to that. I mean, the fact is that we are learning a lot in this era about who is for the people and who are for themselves. If your lawyers settled with Donald Trump, they are not for you, right? They are for protecting their own profits. They're not willing to fight hard enough for you to risk some financial loss themselves. If you are getting your news from an organization that is capitulating to Donald Trump, they may be about selling you games and puzzles. They may want you to go to theme parks and watch movies. They may want you to cross-populate their online streaming services with their digital offerings. But what they're not interested in is you as a news consumer. Yeah. And so the difference between the Brian Tyler Cohens and the Democracy Dockets is we don't have anything other than you. We don't have anything other than you watching these videos, you reading Democracy Docket online, becoming a paid subscriber or a free subscriber. We don't have anything else other than to provide you the news, information, analysis that you need to understand a very, very complex and dangerous world in which democracy is under attack. And what we've learned is that a lot of the sources of news, like a lot of the big law firms, they got something else they're falling back on. Like I said, it may be theme parks, it may be streaming movies, it may be games and puzzles, it may be recipes, but it's not about making sure you are getting the accurate news and information. That's the reason why I do these videos with Brian, because Brian gives you that. Because Brian, day in, day out, when he wakes up and he chooses stories to tell you about, when Brian wakes up and starts shooting for the day, the only thing he's trying to do is inform you. He's got nothing else. He's not holding up a bottle of shampoo in the middle of it, trying to sell you that. He's not trying to sell you tchotchkes or gold coins. He's not trying to pitch to you, 9 other, lifestyle programs. He's just trying to keep you informed on what's important for you to know. And that is true about Democracy Docket as well.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, for anybody watching, look, highly recommend that you not just support independent, fearless journalism, but you support Marc and his team who are doing invaluable work on a daily basis. So I'll put that link to Democracy Docket right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
I'm Marc Elias.
This is Democracy Watch.